All right, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to our latest team play webinar where we're going to be going over the Captain's Portal. For those of you that might not be familiar, my name is Jeff Skubik, and I'm a manager in the Championships and Golf Operations Department here at the SCGA, mainly in charge of leagues such as team play. We'll go ahead and get started. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please go ahead and use the chat feature that's located on your screen. You can type those in and we'll either answer them at the end, or we have someone on the other side who will be able to monitor the progress as well. So we'll go ahead and get started here with the team play with the captain's webinar. If you see on your screen right here, this is an email that you are going to receive that will basically welcome you as a captain and grant you access to the SCGA Team Play Captain's Portal. We haven't sent these out yet, so you don't feel like you need to have to go through diving through your inbox or your spam looking for these. We'll send these out probably about a week or so after entries close. But when an email does come through, it's going to look very similar to this, where it's going to welcome you and say that congratulations, you're a captain of team play, and basically say that the portal is now available and ready for use. Now, in order to get to the captain's portal from this email, there'll be two ways to do so. First way, and probably the simplest way, is you can just go to golfgenius.com and sign in using your email address and your password if you've created one already. Or the second one is you can go ahead and click on the link that's going to be provided in the email, which we will do right here just for demonstration purposes. So if you click on this link, it's going to take you to a blue page that's going to look similar to this. This is called the portal page. This will be where your results are housed. It will be where the group standings are housed. It's going to be where any of the pairings might be housed. But I'm going to reiterate, you're not going to do any admin work on this page. Again, captains will not do any actual administration work on the portal page, but whenever Golf Genius created the captain's portal, they built the link in to redirect you directly to the portal page. Now, in order to access the captain's portal from here, you're going to see an upper gear icon located up here in the upper right corner. And if you just go ahead and hover your mouse over that, you're going to choose the option right here that says Customer Center. And if you go ahead and click on that, that's going to go ahead and redirect you to what's known as the main Golf Genius Customer Center page. Or as mentioned before, if you sign into golfgenius.com directly, you'll bypass the portal page and it will take you directly to this page here. Now, a few things of note before we go ahead and get started with anything. Number one, you're going to want to double check that your season right here is set to 2024. For about another month or so, we'll obviously still be in 2023. So when you sign in, it may default directly to the current season, which is 2023. But if you go ahead and click on that season tab that we see right there and just scroll and find 2024, you should see everything right there. And secondly, if you are a person who has an admin or access to your club's Golf Genius account and you're using your same login, username, and password, you may see a drop-down box that's listed up here that will show Southern California Golf Association and any of your club or clubs that you may have access to. Whenever you're doing admin work for team play, you're going to want to make sure that the Southern California Golf Association one is chosen. Now, when you get down here, you're going to see a couple options for you, depending on the number of team or teams you may have access to. There'll be two options to choose from. If you click on the one here that just says 2024 team play, that's going to take you right back to the blue portal page that we were just on. But in order to do actual work for your club and your team, you're going to choose the option that has your region and your group number assigned to you as here. You can either click on this link right here, or if you go to the far side where it says go to event, you can click on that one as well. They're both going to take you to the same page. So if we go ahead and click on that one, it's going to redirect you to what's known as the captain's dashboard. And this is going to show you all the things that captains can do and have access to, and we'll do in the matches section of that. So once you get access to that, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and build the players to your roster. Now I'm going to use a few terms here that I'll just go ahead and define for you right now. When I refer to the term roster, that's going to be any of the players that's going to be potentially playing for your team. There's no limit to the number of players you can have, and you can add players to your roster, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to use them in a match. When I refer to a lineup, that's going to be the 16 players that are playing in that match or that week's match. So you can have 30 players on your roster, but when I refer to the 16 players, that's going to be in your lineup. So if we go ahead and we build our players in our roster first, you're going to choose the option that's right up here, and it's going to be the team captain menu. You're going to do this for all of your matches. This is where you're going to go to access everything. In this case, you'll see I'm a captain for Dad Miller Golf Club. So all the matches that Dad Miller has on this dropdown are the ones that I'll be able to see and have access to. First step to go ahead and building my rosters, I'm going to choose the Edit Match Play Pairings option that's going to be right at the top in the middle column. Now, just to save some time, I went ahead and added a few players already, but whenever you click on that option, it'll take you to whatever your match play pairings are for that one. Now, you'll see both teams that are listed right here, but I only have access to Dad Miller, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that one. And the first step that I'm going to do to add a player is I'm going to go to this option right here that says click Add New Player. So I'm going to go ahead and click that option. And this will bring you one of two ways that you can go ahead and add a player to your club. You can either do it by their name or by their GIN number. So if I choose to add them by their name, you'll need to type in their full last name. You don't necessarily have to type their first name in, but I would do so if you have multiple players that may have the same last name or players a common last name on your GIN roster. And if I go ahead and type in their name and click search, it's going to go ahead and bring up all the players with that last name. And I'm going to go ahead and click add to add them to my roster. Or if I do it by the GIN number, and I just do the same thing there, it's going to bring up any players, those players with that GIN number or that last name that's eligible for my club. If you're trying to add a player to your roster and they're not coming up, so I'll go ahead and I'll add this player for my GIN number. And then once you're done, I'm going to go ahead and click done. Now, if you're trying to add a player to your roster and they're not coming up, it's either one or two things that's going to happen. Either number one, that player's not on your club's GIN roster, or number two, that means their handicap index went inactive. So either way, you're going to need to talk to your club's handicap chair to see if we can get them reinstated and available for your lineup. Now, to go ahead and once I go ahead and add all my players, so I have some good news and some bad news regarding that. The bad news is you have to go through this process every time for every individual player that you want to add. There's no way to add 3 or 4 or all your players all at once. But the good news is once you go ahead and add a player to your roster, they're going to be there for the remaining matches. You won't have to do this process every single week. So once I go ahead and I add my players and build my roster, that's however many that you have. And we at the SCGA, we always recommend if you just go ahead and do this right away, one of the first things you'll do, you'll just save yourself some stress in the long haul. And more importantly, whenever we get to handicap indexes and updating handicaps, all your players will already be on there. So we'll know that they'll be playing to the most updated handicap index. We update our handicap indexes every Monday morning, and we do it in the wee hours of the morning. So anytime, if you add a player, let's say you have a match on Saturday, and if you add a player on Wednesday and you want to use them for that Saturday match, there's a chance their handicap index may not be accurate. So that's why you want to make sure that they're added well in advance of that time. So that way we know they're playing to the correct handicap index. And the reason being for that is whenever you go to set your lineup, and again, those are the 16 players that are going to be in your participating in the match for that week. They're going to be listed in handicap index order from low to high. So in this case, going from low, left to right, to high, then top to bottom. So just to go ahead and set the lineup, I'm going to go ahead and pick all the players. And you'll see I'll pick the couple that I added already right here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the lineup player. If I go ahead and click in one of the boxes to where it highlights to orange, you're going to see this go option that highlights as well. And if I go ahead and click go, it's going to add them to the lineup there. You can go ahead and put them in just about any order just to get the box filled up here. And just to update the process, I'll go ahead and I'll show you why. Go ahead and fill up the lineup here. And lastly, whenever you're done with that, you want to make sure to click this Save Team Changes option down below, and you'll see why. Because once we click that Save Team Changes, it's going to reorder them based on the handicap index from low to high.
Jeff, Jimmy Becker here. Just we do have a question to confirm. If you add someone after Monday, their index may not be correct for Team Plays Monday update.
That is correct. So they may not be correct, but if you add someone after the fact and you plan on using them for that week, for that week's match, you'll want to go ahead and let us know so that way we can special update that player's handicap index in Golf Genius. Now, if you add a player on Wednesday, but you're not going to use them for that week's match, you won't need to worry about that because the following week it's going to go ahead and reset it and make sure they're on the same index anyway. And as you see, once I went ahead and clicked Save Team Changes, it put all the players in the correct handicap index order from low to high. Now, let's say if I had something come up, let's say Steve has an issue that came up and he needs to be removed, he can't play anymore. I just go ahead and click his name, and then there's that remove option is going to be available as well. And I just click remove, and then I can go ahead and add my new player in. And again, be sure to click Save Team Changes, so that way it goes ahead and resets everything, and more importantly, saves everything. And go ahead while it's updating here. And there we go. Just went ahead and re-updated and put everyone in the correct handicap index order. All right. So once you've gone ahead and you've set your lineup for that week, you have the players that you're going to know that are going to play. If you are the host captain, you will be responsible for the next step, which is setting the course, tee, and what I call the starting method. And if you're having any confusion as to who the home team is, in that same round menu that we have here, the home team is going to be who's listed first. And that's going to be based on the schedule that was provided by either by you or by someone in your group who made sure the schedule there. So in that same team captain menu, the next step is you're going to go to click the Edit Course and Tee Assignments section right here. And that will take us to the next page where you'll have 3 options. And these can be done in any order. You can either set the tee time if you're going to use starting times. You can set the shotgun if you're going to do a shotgun, or you can set the course and tee. I'll go ahead and I'll set the course and tee first. Every course that is part of your 3, 2, 3, 4 group pod is going to be preloaded into your portal already. So every course that you'll see will be listed for you as well. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to add just one tee, but it brings over all of the tees since people could be using multiple tees. Now, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and set everyone. They're going to play off the blue tees, and we're going to use the men's ratings. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. In this case, everyone's going to be playing the same tee. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this option that says select all players. And you'll see it highlights all the players that we have right here. And I'm going to go ahead and then you click apply. And then finally, you're going to go ahead and anytime you do anything, you want to make sure to click save pairings in the lower right-hand corner. And that's going to go ahead and set everyone off of that tee. Now, let's say you have somebody in your match that's either of a different gender, or they may play a different set of tees. You're going to go ahead and set that player on a different tee. Now, for demonstration purposes, let's say this player, Ron, right here, is going to play from a different set of tees. Something happened, he's going to play from the white tees instead. If you go ahead and click on his box, and then you go ahead and he's going to play from the white tees. And I click apply, and then again, save pairings. And you'll see whenever it comes up, Ron will be set on the white tees. This is another big one when you go ahead and set the course and tee. If you do have a player who's a female, you want to make sure you set them on the female ratings as well. So that way their handicap is calculated justly. And if you go ahead and see, Ron is set up on the white tees for that one. But just to get things back to normal, I'll go ahead and put Ron back on the blue just to get us going from there. Now, next step is going to be how we're going to start. If you're going to use a starting time, so you can go ahead and you're going to click set tee times, and then you can either type it in down here. So if we're going to do a 9 o'clock start, everyone's going to go in 10-minute intervals. You're going to get everyone starting on hole 1. You're going to go ahead and click select all, and it's going to highlight everything. And if we click apply, it's going to do the starting times based on that. Now, let's say if you're a club that has alternating intervals, so maybe you go 9 and 10-minute intervals, you can go ahead and do the same thing, click apply, and it's going to alternate it based off of 9 and 10 minutes. Or another way you can do it is if you just want to type 9 o'clock, 9, 10, 9, 20, so on and so forth. So on and so forth. But we'll go ahead and I'll select all. We'll put us at 10 minutes, click apply, and then finally, again, go ahead and save pairings if we're doing starting times. Now, let's say you're doing a shotgun. This is going to be a little bit more complicated. You're going to click the set shotgun option. You're going to select all, so that way all players do it. And then you're going to go ahead and assign how many number holes, right, that are going to be starting on their hole. So let's say on this hole, we're going to have 2 groups going, and then 1. And then on this one, we'll have 0 because obviously we don't have any there. Or you can go ahead and type it in the side right here. When it comes to this one, since we're playing match play, you want to make sure that the group is starting on the hole that they should be starting on. For example, I'll go ahead and I'll apply it right there, and we'll click save. So let's say, for example, the group that's starting on hole 5 is actually starting on hole 4. It's going to mess up the scoring system because the system assumes that they're starting on hole 5. So it's really important to make sure that we do that. Or let's say if we're doing a reverse shotgun, it's the same thing, except you just start on 1 and you go backwards all the way to there. We'll go ahead and we'll do that one, click apply and save. Big one you want to make sure is, again, go ahead and click save. So that way it locks everything in with with all your issues there. All right, so now that we have our course and tee set, we have our lineup set. I'm going to go ahead and skip around a little bit, and we'll go in chronological order of what's going to happen next. And that's, you're going to go ahead and probably print scorecards or pairings or anything of the sort. So you're going to do that in the report center option, which is listed right over here on the right-hand side. And in your report center, there'll be a section that's solely dedicated to team play. It's going to be starred, and it's going to be located at the top of your screen. These will be for any options that you're going to use for any team play reports that you may use. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and print some scorecards for this one. One of the popular ones that people have used over time is the team play scorecard 4-ball. If you hover over each one, now again, there's no right or wrong answer for which one you want to use. It's just whatever suits you best. So if we go ahead, you only have an option to print for it. So if you want to look at one views, you can click the magnifying glass and it'll display what something looks like. But for this one, we'll go ahead and print. I'm going to go ahead and then click next. Then it's going to ask you what tournament you want to print handicap dots for. It's either going to be 4-ball or singles. Unfortunately, with Golf Genius and team play, you're not able to print handicap dots for both matches on the same scorecard. So one of the common workarounds that we recommend is if you print it for one, the most common one is 4-ball. And then if you hand dot the singles matches, in most cases, you're only dotting couple dots on each match anyway, so it shouldn't be that much of an inconvenience. But Golf Genius is aware that this is a growing concern with that, and they're working to address it as well. So once we choose the match that we are going to print it for, we're going to go ahead and click print, and it'll generate the report right here. And when it generates it as a PDF form. So if you're someone who prints it off right away, you can print it right there. or you can save it and send it to either another person who prints it or someone at your facility who may be able to do it for you right there. And if we go ahead and download it, it's going to dot everything based on the 4-ball matches that we have. It's still going to give one for the match status, the individual status, and then you'll just need to dot it based on however many strokes you're given for the singles match. Now, in this case, as we all know, with match play, the lowest player in the group plays to a 0, so you'll see it right there. And then if you need to, as I said, if you need to print it or if you want to save it and scan it and email it to somebody, however you want to do it, makes it the easiest for you as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. And again, you can go ahead and print out of that. There's scorecards, pairing reports, just about anything that you can use on here. Score sheets if you want to use, it's all available for you right there. So next step, once you go ahead, you got all reports, you're going to get ready. And next step is you're going to want to go ahead and play the match. If you're a group that uses the mobile score feature, you're going to use this one right here, and you're going to want to turn that to yes, to turn that on. And same thing, you need to choose which one you're going to use it for. But since a number of groups don't use that option, which it is available for you if you want to use, entirely up to you. We're not forcing one way or another. Next step is you go ahead and play the match. And as players come in, they're going to hand you your scorecard. They're going to enter the hole-by-hole scores, which is going to be the option that's right here. And then you just click on the group. You're going to enter the gross scores. It's just going to show the gross scores here. So you can go for however you want to do it. But just to go ahead and save time for that, I'm going to go ahead and put random scores in. Entering random scores is also a great way if you want to test to make sure you did everything correctly or it's set up correctly. You can go right ahead. So I'll try that.
And Jeff, it's Jimmy. If you want to maybe reiterate about the scorecards and why not all the dots are showing for all matches and the progress on that with Golf Genius while this is running.
All right, so it's just popped up. But yeah, the reason why the handicap with Golf Genius, they won't show 2 on the same scorecard, it's because there's multiple matches going on. They don't know, the system won't know with how it scores been preferential to one or the other. But we have relayed that to our account manager, and he has confirmed that there's going to be doing an update coming up soon, and that's one of the things that they're hoping to add. Unfortunately, that feature won't be available for team play this coming season, but it will be going forward. And while we're on the subject of scorecards, I'm going to go ahead and relay one last thing, and that is, if for those of you that are rules buffs out there, you may know Rule 3, which is match play, will say scorecards are not required or mandatory for match play. So if a player brings in a scorecard and they have a 4 on a hole, but they agreed to a 5, the 5 is what stands as long as they teed off on the next hole. Scorecards also don't need to be signed or attested before handing them in. We just provide them as a tool so that way captains can use it for entering scores, and so that way we make sure the scores are getting posted, which we'll cover here in a bit. So in this case, we went ahead just to show the matches. There'll be a couple leaderboards that show up here, and that's the team point summary. That'll basically show based on the scores that were entered here. It shows Dad Miller winning the match, or you can click on the individual, the 4-ball, hole by hole. And if you want to see any more of a match, you just click on each individual one right there, and it's going to say that. And if we go ahead and go back, let me choose another one, for example. And again, this is one where we talked about, because it's showing it started on hole 14, since we did a shotgun, that's where it's going to start scoring the match. That's where it goes tied, 1 up, tied, all the way down there. So you want to make sure if you're doing a shotgun, put the correct group on the correct starting hole. Now, once we go ahead and we complete the match, everything's agreed upon, there'll be a couple final steps that captains will need to do in order to go ahead and complete the match. And these can be done in any of the orders, but these are 3 steps that need to be done. First step that you're going to want to do is the bottom right here. It's going to say show results in event portal. You're going to choose to click that option to yes. This is what actually shows the results on that portal page. So that way we make sure everything is scored correctly, or if players want to, other captains, other players want to see how your team did. If it's not shown right there, it won't show the matches being done. Second, and probably the most important one, is the round status needs to be turned to completed. That is what actually scores the match and awards the points. So if you're a captain and you win your match, you go on the portal the next day and you say, hey, we won our match, but I'm not seeing the 2 points that we're awarded. That's because this probably hasn't been turned to completed yet. And again, as mentioned, that's what actually scores and awards the points. So you want to make sure that is done. The last one is you're going to want to do this option right here, which is post the player's scores to Jin. We ask that it's be done in a very timely manner, so that way we make sure that they get posted to their Jin accounts, and so that it goes towards any handicap index updates. The sooner you can probably get this done, I would say the better, just so that way you don't forget about it. But once you go ahead, it's going to bring up all the players and their scores right there. You're going to choose the score type, and it's going to say you're going to want to choose it to competition, because that's what we use for the competition matches here. And then this button is going to go ahead and light up, and you're going to click post scores. Now, since I put in the random scores, it's not going to allow me to post scores, but this option is going to go ahead and post scores, and you're going to click that, and then all the buttons here will turn green, so that way you know it's been posted. Now, one of the neat parts about Golf Genius is, let's say you accidentally post these scores as home scores. You can go back in and repost these scores through Golf Genius as competition, and it will overwrite the original posting. So that way it won't result in a double posting. Now, let's say if a score gets posted through another avenue, whether it's someone posted it on Jin, or a player contacted their handicap chair and said, hey, I played in a team play match yesterday. It's posted as a home score when it should be a competition. If they go ahead and make that change in Jin, and then someone goes and reposts it here in Golf Genius, that will result in a double posting. So if you do make an error, you want to make sure you go ahead and recorrect it here in Golf Genius, and it will overwrite the original posting.
Jeff, we did have a question from Darren. So Darren, I'm going to allow you to talk here. So give it a second. And ask your question to Jeff. Darren, you still there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Darren.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
When posting scores through this portal, will the scores come in and equitable score or stroke control be adjusted automatically?
Yes, it will go ahead and apply the net double bogey maximum hole score.
All right.
So even though, let's say if a player gets a 9 on a hole, which will count towards the actual match itself, if their maximum hole score on that hole is a 7, it will post it as a 7. All right. And then once everything is done with that match, I'll go ahead and I'll just kind of review a few other features that I think will be beneficial to you as captains as well. The first one will be for those that either were captains last year or may just have memories of last year. We did have an awful lot of rain, which resulted in some courses either being closed or not playable. And other way, it was matches that ended up having to be postponed or rescheduled. One of the things that we mentioned about in our first webinar is that captains have the ability to change the round dates themselves. This isn't necessarily something that we at the SCGA have to do for you. But in order to change that match date, let's say this match against, we'll go ahead and keep this one. So let's say all of a sudden we meet our captains, hey, it's going to rain on Saturday. We don't really want to play. We're going to go ahead and move that match. So you're going to do that in the round profile tab right here. So you're going to choose that one. And it'll bring you, the only option is you can click on a gray box and move the calendars. So let's say we want to move our match to Sunday, the 3rd. If we go ahead and click in that box, we're going to go ahead and click Sunday, the 3rd. And if we go ahead and click save, and it will spin around a little bit, and it will go ahead and reflect the change that now the match is going to be played on Sunday the 3rd. Now, a couple little tidbits about this. Number one, only one of the captains of the teams involved has to do this, and it will affect any of the matches that we're going forward right there. And secondly, we do ask that you still let us know if it is decided that captains want to change the match dates, just so that way we're aware of it as well. Finally, another feature that I'll go ahead and I'll update on is probably my favorite feature with Golf Genius, and that's this one right here, the handicap analysis. What this does, for those who are not familiar with it, this will provide a step-by-step breakdown of how a player's handicap index is calculated, and especially for this one, it'll show how the strokes are divided up. So let's say if we go ahead and we'll click a singles match right here. If we go ahead and click on a player right here, based on their handicap index, it will show a step-by-step breakdown of how their handicap index is calculated. Or if you're going ahead and you're going to dot your scorecards based on a certain match, it will show how many strokes a player or team or side is going to get based on everything for it right there. Having someone who's been and worked at a club before, I know just about every event that we did, someone came in and said, hey, my handicap says I'm a 10, I'm supposed to be a 12. Well, this is a feature right here that you can go ahead and say, well, based on this and everything that's set up for it, it's showing based on that. Or, as I mentioned before, if you're going to go ahead and dot your single scorecards or 4 balls, since it won't print for one, you can go ahead and go right to this feature right here, and it will show you, so you don't have to spend time doing the math trying to figure out how to calculate it. And again, that's the handicap analysis feature for you right here. Pardon me. All right. Hope so. I know I kind of got through this a little quickly. I wanted to be a little mindful over time, but also open the floor to any questions. So, Jimmy, if anyone has any questions, we can go ahead and dive through it and see what anyone has.
Jeff, do you want to show them what other report features that might be available for them if they want to print card signs or pairing?
Absolutely. So if we go back into that same Report Center tab option that we showed right there, let's say we want to go ahead and print card signs. So the ones that we have will be set aside right here. If we just go ahead and find Team Play card signs, and we can click Print. And it's going to be for that match. And the same thing, it's going to go for that. There's various pairing reports that you can do. If you're a team that you like to do the big leaderboards or the hand scoreboards, there's options for those as well. There's dozens of scorecard options on there. So if we go ahead and generate that, and again, same thing. If we want to go ahead and either print this out right here, or we can send it to our club, our head pro, if they're going to go ahead and print those out as well. But another option for you right there is the card signs. Or let's say if I want to go ahead and print a pairings report. Team Play pairings. And go ahead next. And download. And same thing, it's going to go ahead and show your pairings, and we do it based off of the playing handicap for it right there. Now, one thing I will point out, since it's listed right here, you will see a couple players, especially here in the last group, where it shows they have a handicap index that's higher than the 18.4 maximum that we allow. It will show their actual handicap index just to make sure that everyone's lined up in the same correct handicap index order. But as you'll see, it'll cut off everything to restrict them to that 18.4 handicap index.
Jeff, we do have another question. Is mobile scoring still an option this season? Assuming yes, but just want to be sure.
Yes, so mobile scoring is an available option for that. And if your team does want to use the mobile scoring option, as noted before, you just find the match and click enable mobile scoring for yes. And if you want to choose dots, if you want to choose a match to show dots, you just choose that. Let's say we'll choose the 4 ball, and you click save. Now, one feature, if you do want to use the mobile scoring access, you will need to set the round to this in progress status before the match starts. Otherwise, the mobile scoring feature won't work. But just make sure that it's yes and in progress. But yes, the mobile scoring feature will be available for that. Not mandatory, but a good feature if you want to have it. All right, we'll open the floor if anyone has a few more questions while we still have a little bit of time here.
We do have a couple.
Okay.
It sounds like mobile scoring will only show individual matches, or four ball will it show both?
It will not, unfortunately. It will show the scores, but again, with the same thing with the handicap dots, it will only show one of the. It doesn't have the ability to show both. But whenever you enter the scores in, the leaderboard will based on the scores that are entered, the leaderboard will show both.
It did last year, we are being told, so we can double check on this.
Yep.
And then Jeff, do you have a report for advanced score sheets to put up at the bar or grill or any other place for perpetual results as groups come in?
Yep, that's going to be the scoreboards right here. This is going to be an option for you right here. Or I think there's one or two other ones that we have as well. So that's the GGID. And I know this one, even though it says women's match play, but it's still one that'll show that you can print out on a bigger screen and hang it at the bar or hang it at the golf shop as groups come in.
Jeff, there does not appear to be any other questions. Oh, I spoke too soon. So there is the mobile scoring. It will not, and I'm going to clarify this. In mobile scoring itself, it will not show the pops for both matches, sets of matches, the four balls and singles. That I do know. The live leaderboard will show both, though. But the mobile app will not show both matches on each hole.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I think that is all of them. And Jeff, you want to talk about how we'll send out this recording?
Yep. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this recording. Probably the next day or so. We'll go ahead and email this out to everyone, and we will also put this up on the SCGA Team Play page on scga.org as well. And if you had any more questions or wanted just another clarification on some of the Captain's Portal as well, I'd recommend visiting that Team Play page on scga.org, and you'll see little quick snippet videos of the various actions that you'll perform for you right here, as well as a previous recording of the November 1st webinar. And we'll also have a Captain's Portal guide, which will basically be a step-by-step process of the Captain's Portal, but in written form in case you want to read it or versus visualize it.
And Jeff, do you want to give them an update on when they're going to start seeing manuals, invoices, all that fun stuff?
So as noted, entries close this coming Sunday. So if you haven't gotten your entry form in, please do so rather quickly. You can send that to champs@scga.org. Once we go ahead and entries close, we'll take a few days, kind of clean up a few things, make sure everything's good. We'll send out invoices, I'd imagine, probably at the end of next week. And then Captain's Portal access will be probably right around that same time or just a few days afterwards. As noted before, I would say once you go ahead and get access to that, probably go ahead and just take care of everyone and load up your roster right away, just so that way everyone's already there taken care of. And especially with the holiday coming up, I know some people might have other plans, might not get to it right away. But as soon as that's in, we're pretty much right into the thick of the season. So better to do it now rather than be left scrambling. And finally, the manual, we're just in the final steps of that. So we should hopefully have that up on the scga.org shortly. All right. And if there's no other questions, I want to say go ahead and thank you all so much again for taking time out this evening to learn about the Captain's Portal. If you have any questions, please go ahead and you can contact us at champs@scga.org or the main 818-980-3630 extension 802 hotline, and we'll be able to get you answers for you right there. Again, thank you all so much. Be on the lookout for those Captain's Portal email that's going to be coming through soon, and hope you all have a wonderful evening.